Hi everyone, my name is Julia Lavala. I'm recording this video as part of a requirement for our class, our initial reaction questionnaire. Um, and when you think, the first question is, when you think of a term, the term or phrase in dual language learner, what image comes to mind? As someone who is bilingual, I was actually born and raised in Brazil. When you think about someone who is a dual language learner, you definitely, the first thing that comes to mind is this poor little kid with a little suitcase going in, in the middle of New York, snowing, and he can't ask for anybody for help or anything like that. That's what comes to mind when I think about dual language learner. I guess using a little bit of my background as well to answer that question. What challenge do you think dual language learners experience in early childhood education settings? As someone who does work in the field already, I do think there is a very big bridge, a very big gap that needs to be, you know, filled because uh, I, for example, have a student that parents don't speak English and I only speak Portuguese. I don't speak Spanish. And, I can definitely see that the child can struggle sometimes to keep up with classes and even to just pass on information to her parents as well. As long as with, saying exactly what they like and communicating in general, what they like to eat, what they like to drink, if their friends are doing something that they don't like, just communication in general. And what do you sorry and what challenges do you think early childhood educators settings face in supporting dual language learners? Just not knowing the language, that's the biggest thing. We can as It would be great if we could all cater and, have teachers know all the languages of the kids in our classroom, but we can't expect people to know all languages, right? So I think that also the same barrier that we have, that students can have because they can't communicate very well, also educators can also have, because at times I don't really know how I can properly help my student to communicate better. And I'm also sometimes wondering if I'm listening to what my student, who is a dual language learner, um, if I'm helping her appropriately or if I'm answering her questions appropriately. What assets do you think dual language learning brings to early childhood education settings? They bring more culture. I say they, but I also include myself in there. In that, I did learn English much later in life, but I do consider myself a dual language learner. We bring a different culture. We bring a different way of being raised, a different set of rules. We just bring a little bit from our culture to the classroom, to our friends' lives, and and if one child can move everything, that's great. Should dual language learners be taught their first language or English or both in early childhood settings, and why? I definitely think that students should learn the language of the place where they're living. So if they and we can agree and disagree on this. We can't expect every educator to know all the languages of the students that we have in our classroom. It's just not sustainable in a in a field where we already have very little people willing to work in this field and people staying in this field. We already ask too much of our educators. I don't think asking for educators to learn or adapt to every language that our students can have. Um, if you were a parent of a dual language learner in an early childhood education setting, what types of support resources would you want for your child or to your family? My child, she is a dual language learner. She does speak Portuguese as well. She is learning. One thing that I have and I'm pulling a lot of this as from personal experience. One thing that I do a lot is, for example, my daughter listens a lot better to Portuguese than she does in English. I definitely helped her teachers and being like, hey, instead of you getting frustrated, you can use this or that, just giving tips here and there to where it's like, hey, maybe they can respond better to this word instead of this, because that's what we use it at home. One thing that I also started doing in my classroom, because of other classes I have taken before, is to do a culturally diverse library that also brings in a lot more, just makes the children feel welcome and part of the classroom when we talk about their culture, talk about their religion or their culture or anything like that. What are some strategies and or resources you think you would be present in an early childhood education setting, instruction to help dual language learners develop early literacy skills? Um, I think that really taking the time and understanding that there is this wrong concept that dual language learners learn slower because they're learning two languages, and it's actually not like that. They can learn both languages at the same speed, but we do have to allow students to have the time to process what they're saying. As someone who that they're saying or they're learning, as someone who is bilingual, and I have been living in the US for almost 10 years, I can say for sure that I struggle sometimes to say words. I struggle to say the right thing, and I think we are very much too quick in just being like one an answer real quick. We want everything very quick. So allowing our students to take the time and really think about what they're doing and what they're going to say, and just give them time. It takes time to process. It takes time to adjust. It takes time for not just our students but to us to kind of get comfortable with each other. And I think that's the biggest thing that's like lacking is people getting comfortable with each other and creating a relationship with families as well. And the last question is, in early childhood education settings, should the language learners be assessed, screened using the same assessment and screeners used to non dual language learners? Why and why not? I do think they should be assessed on the same level, with a section, for example, and I'm just using as an example in my place of work. We are just working now doing all of our portfolios and doing parent teaching conferences and assessments and all that, and having because I can see that my student can do all the things that my other students can. That the assessment, motor skill, fine motor skills, and all these, it shouldn't change. But the only difference is that we have a part at the bottom, at the last page, to dual language learners or children who are still learning the language. And if they're talking, if they can still be understood, if like if they struggle with some words and what they're struggling with, to where we can kind of pinpoint, oh, if your child is not thriving on, for example, writing their name, maybe because or knowing their letters, or saying the right name for the letter, it could be that they know their letters but not in that same language. So having that, and also a lot of observation, like we said, we are overworked, we are underpaid, and we can overlook a lot of things. So just really paying attention to our students can make a world of difference. So yeah, thank you for watching me, and I hope you enjoy. Thank you.